guys, welcome to the channel. This is my very first video for my true crime series that I'm going to be doing on my YouTube channel. I am in my car. I just thought that it would be the most quiet place to record my video, seeing that it is like 3 o'clock, so my kids are going crazy, and I knew that it would be hard to record, so we're just in my car. I don't know, maybe I'll make it a thing to where I only record in my car. We'll just have to see. On this channel, my idea is just to take murders that have happened, disappearances, unsolved murders, all that stuff I want to just do on my channel. So what I'm going to do is, on the title itself, I'll let you guys know if the case is a solved case, if it's a disappearance, or a non-solved. The video that I'm making today is a solved case, and it is a case that is pretty known. If you don't know about it, then you're gonna know about it here. The very first video that I'm gonna be doing on my channel is on the Watts family. It's a case where you're constantly gonna be asking why. It's gonna trigger you because it's really upsetting, because it wasn't necessary. If you see me looking down a lot, it's because I did type up my like the story. I want to be able to make sure that I'm actually giving you guys the right facts. I also have a journal. I pretty much know it mainly because of how much research that I have done, but if there is any parts that I'm missing, I am going to be looking down. I just wanted to clear that up for you. The family that we're going to be talking about is the Watts family. It's a sad case. The main people that we're going to be talking about today are Christopher Watts, who is 34, Shanann Watts, who is 33, Bella Watts, who is only age 4, and Celeste Watts, who is age 3. Celeste went by the nickname of Cece, so that's most likely what I'm going to be calling her. And on August 13th, they also lost their unborn child, who they were going to be naming Nico. Just kind of give you a background on Christopher and Shanann and their family just a little bit. So Christopher worked in the oil industry. Shanann worked for a multi-level marketing company. Thrive is a very big business, and Shanann was the bomb at what she did. Christopher and Shanann met in 2010, and they got married in 2012. They had 2 daughters, Bella and Cece, and Shanann was actually 15 weeks pregnant with a girl who they were going to be naming Nico. They lived such an awesome lifestyle. They traveled. They looked so happy. If you look at Shanann's Facebook page, she just looks like she was the happiest person in the world. She looked like she had the best husband. She looked like she got to do her dream job by traveling, and she just looked really happy. Shanann was very public with her life, so anything that went on in her life or anything that she was thinking at that moment, she posted it on the internet. No questions about it. She went straight to Facebook. You kind of get to know Shanann as a person just a little bit if you research her page, which it's just Shanann Watts, and now her page is a Remembering Shanann Watts page, so everything she ever posted is still there and it's public. The way that she made it seem was her and Christopher were the perfect couple. You know, no questions asked. She was the luckiest girl in the world. She was so blessed that he picked her, and she just seemed really happy.
Well, one thing led to another, and he's the best thing that has ever happened to me.
They actually lived in a 5-bedroom house in Frederick, Colorado. So they were living pretty good. On August 13th, 2018, Shanann is returning home from a business trip in Arizona. And she gets home at about 1:48 a.m. She received a ride from her friend and her colleague, Nicole. So while Shanann was on her business trip, Chris was home with the kids, Bella and Cece. Like I said, Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant. So apparently on August 14th, she had an OBGYN appointment, and she also had a business meeting. Well, apparently her friend Nicole, the one who had taken her home from the airport, was trying to get in contact with her that whole morning. Text messages, calls, no response. When she doesn't hear anything from her after her OB appointment, she's kind of like, okay. Well, come to find out that Shanann also missed her business meeting. Now, Nicole made it seem like this business meeting was kind of something big. You know, like she shouldn't have missed it. She should have been there. Where is she? So at that point, she's still trying to contact her. She's still trying to call her, text her, anything she can to get in touch with her. When she cannot, she goes over to the house. And she realizes that no one's home. She then calls the police. She reports them missing.
A friend of mine, she's not answering the door, she's not responding to text messages, phone calls, and there's no movement in the house whatsoever.
She cannot find her friend. Well, she then reaches out to Christopher and she's like, hey, I just called the Frederick Police Department to report Shanann and your girl's missing. You need to get home. Officers at that point then arrive at the Watts property roughly around 1:40 p.m. for a welfare check, you know, just to make sure that everything's okay, that they're there. Christopher pulls up, you know, he leaves work and he's speaking to officers and he's trying to do everything he can to not only give them information about himself and his whereabouts, but he's also trying to do as much as he can to help them locate his missing family. Investigators then ask, is it okay if they do a full-on search? You know, they need to check the house. They need to see if they're there, if they're okay. He gives the okay. Chris's family was not found though. But what officers did find was on the counter, I'm guessing in the kitchen when they say on the counter, they found Shanann's purse, her wallet, and her phone. So all three of those were left on the counter. Her wedding ring was left on her nightstand next to her bed, and all the beds were unmade. If I can find it, I'll play it. As I was watching videos, I had heard one of the officers asking Chris, is it unusual for her to leave the beds unmade? And he said yes, meaning like, you know, it was a thing where they woke up in the morning, she got the kids ready, beds were made, you know, all that good stuff. So it was out of place. And this is what kind of like shook me the most. But I remember seeing police officers' body cams, and he walks into her bedroom and the first thing he says is, where is the non-fitted sheet? Do you guys use a non-fitted sheet? Chris is like, yeah. Well, that non-fitting sheet was missing. Also, her car was still parked in the garage with Bella and Cece's car seats still in the back seat. Jumping to the next day, August 14th. According to Christopher, Shanann was going to be taking the kids to a friend's house, and that's where she was going to be. The FBI and the Colorado Bureau both joined the investigation. Police start asking questions like, was your kids take any medication? You know, do they need anything specifically? And he says yes. He tells them that his youngest daughter, Cece, does have to take medication. I do know that she did need an EpiPen, and they had to take it everywhere with them. And so then I kept searching, and I found out that actually the EpiPen and the medication were both left at home. Police then catch a break when they figure out that Christopher's neighbor Nate actually had video surveillance. When I say neighbor, it's like Nate's house is right here, and then Christopher's house is like 2 houses down from him. So he's like a neighbor like next door, not like across the street or anything. Police go over and they're like, hey, you know, can we see the video from the night of August 13th? I guess they would start off at the time supposedly that she got home, you know, because he did mention how he didn't wake up when she got home, which I thought was weird, because if I had been on a business trip and, you know, I'm pregnant, I would kind of expect Cairo to wake up and be like, you know, like, hey, how was your trip? And supposedly that's not what he did. He just gave the time frame. I think it was 2 a.m. It started there at 2 a.m. and then just kept going. I actually have the video and I'll play it here for you guys. But in that specific video, you can just tell how nervous he is. He can't stop moving. He's like swaying back and forth. He's on his phone.
What's that?
Nothing on there.
You just have
My camera.
the truck up to the garage.
Lay down.
Loaded my stuff up in my coolers, my water jugs, my book bag, my computers, some of the tools that I had from the toolbox. I knew I was going to have to do some pumping into rubbers today. That's why I was out so far. Mind if you just want to go talk to him? I'm going to get his info real quick. No.
He's never fidgety, he's never rocking back and forth, and if you look, he never loads his stuff in and out of the garage ever.
Right.
And it doesn't look like he came from right here, it looks like he came from down the street.
That didn't really catch me off guard though, because it's kind of like something you do like when you're scared or like worried. You're just like, you can't process it. Like, I just got bad vibes seeing that video. That's not what I would do. Like, if my family is missing, like, I'm gonna watch that video hardcore and make sure I don't see anything, you know, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to catch something happening on that video, and it's like he wants absolutely nothing to do with that video as it's playing. He has a reason to be nervous, because in that video you see Christopher backing his truck up into the garage, and he's there for about 50 minutes just loading his work truck. And I'm like, why does it take an hour? They can't do anything with that because they don't have proof that he did anything inside of the garage. Being that officers have now seen footage, haven't found them, you know, he's got people saying that obviously Nate didn't tell the officer in front of Chris that he thought that he was acting weird, but if you guys make it seem like you're gonna walk outside with him and then randomly just stop and you're like, nah, just go ahead, I'm gonna stay behind and get his information, I would be like, what? At this point in time, from his wife and his kids' disappearance, Christopher is just at his point where he's like, I need to figure out what I can do, and I need to do it fast. So Christopher then reaches out to the media.
Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody.
And then he actually says, it's a nightmare I just can't wake up from. Like, it's like, you know, like, you feel bad for this guy a little bit, because he's making it seem like he's worried and he's concerned, and he doesn't look like he did anything wrong at this point, you know. And that's exactly why investigators are not like, go arrest that guy because he did it, you know. But they don't have anything showing them that he actually did it. Let's get a little bit juicier, okay? So apparently, just weeks before her disappearance, Shanann expressed how she felt that their marriage was falling apart. And there are text messages, and I'll place them right here. And if you read it, you can just see, like, I guess, like, how hurt she is, you know. When she's basically trying to put her foot down. Imagine how she felt. You know, there's more text messages where she's expressing to her friend how Chris told her that he might not even want a third baby. Like, he's just happy with Bella and Cece. And as a parent myself, I wouldn't want to hear that. Having your significant other tell you that they don't want that next child and they're happy with just the child that they have is kind of mind-blowing, because it's like, how could you even... That kind of threw me off, you know, because I don't know, like, you shouldn't just, I don't know, if you're feeling a certain way like that, instead of like torturing your significant other by telling them that, just leave, or like suck it up and make it work, because no matter what, that baby's not just gonna disappear into thin air. Well, we're about to give you a plot twist now. Shanann has suspected Christopher of having an affair, and those thoughts ended up coming about because of a charge that went to their debit card, and it turned out to be true. Christopher Watts was having an affair with a woman from work named Nicole. It wasn't her friend, because that's the first thing I thought. So apparently Christopher told his mistress that he was going through a divorce and he was separated. Neither of those are true. And something that investigators had found out was that Christopher held all of their messages, all of their pictures, all of his secrets on his affair in a disguised calculator app. Their affair started in June of 2018. Nicole had told investigators that she had no idea that he was married, and she had no idea that Shanann was actually 15 weeks pregnant. But what kind of throws it off is investigators found out that in September of 2017, Nicole did a Google search of Shanann Watts. She literally typed in Shanann Watts. So clearly she was interested in Chris months prior to when the actual affair started. Meaning she had to have known that they were married, because her Facebook page literally has Christopher on it everywhere. And she had to have known that him and Shanann were expecting a third baby. There's no way you could have known, because Shanann's page was not private. So how do you not know? Nicole reaches out to investigators and she's like, hey, I'll come in voluntarily and I'll let you know everything that I know. Shanann's parents were heavily involved in the investigation. I didn't expect them not to be. You know, it's their daughter and their granddaughters that have just vanished. But not only that, they actually believe that Christopher had something to do with it, which is kind of crazy to me. So at this point, I'm guessing after finding out that he had an affair, after lying to his mistress about his actual relationship status, I guess, a little bit of things that just aren't adding up, you know, FBI is kind of like, hey, you're a suspect. Any other case, it's gonna be your closest person to you that is gonna be a suspect anyways. That's always said, you know. He is her husband, or there's actually a little bit of things that just aren't adding up to where investigators are like, yeah, something's not right. Point being, he's a suspect. He's a suspect. They're going to take him to the interview room and they're going to interrogate him. Apparently, when he is being interrogated, Christopher isn't giving the right information, either that he was giving before or just timeline. You know, it's just not adding up. So the two detectives that are in the room interrogating him, I'm thinking just got straight up annoyed and didn't want to deal with it anymore. So they were like, hey, you know, you're not giving us the right information. You're gonna take a polygraph test. Christopher agrees. He takes the polygraph test, and of course he fails, which I don't know if you guys know this, because I didn't know it at first, but over time, like literally all the shows that I watch and everything like that, a polygraph test cannot be used in court. So if you're being interrogated and they're like, hey, you need to take a polygraph test, if you say okay and you fail it, it doesn't mean anything. Because if you're on trial and the word polygraph is brought up in court, it's a mistrial. Simple as that. So he failed the polygraph test, which in reality doesn't mean jack, but not everybody knows that. So I'm thinking at that point he fails, so investigators are like, cool, he failed, now we have leverage. Basically at that point investigators are like, hey, you failed. Chris is like, okay, like he legit doesn't care. And they're like, look, we know that you want to tell us everything. You know, since you walked in that door, you've been wanting to open up. Begging him to open up a little bit at that point. And he still continues to claim his innocence. So this is where it gets kind of juicy. Christopher is still being interrogated when investigators who are still trying to locate Shanann, Bella, and Cece, they realize that his work truck actually has GPS. They go to, I guess, the last location that he was. That location took them to an oil tank site, which was actually Survey 319, okay? And I'm guessing the site wasn't actually the location where he worked, but it was a location of where he worked. Investigators had a drone, you know, in the sky go over the whole field. And out in the field, they actually find the missing sheet that I told you about. When the investigators did the search at his house, they actually found it on that site. In the interview room, you know, Chris is still trying to explain to them, like, I didn't do anything. I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I don't know where my wife and children are. He does confess to his affair with Nicole. And investigators are legit like, we don't care. That means absolutely nothing. We just want to know where Shanann and your kids are. But then he tries to explain, the only point of me telling you about the affair is because I need you to know that's the only thing that I was hiding. You can tell that at this point, Chris is kind of like just like losing hope. And he's like not really talking anymore. So then he straight up asks the two detectives if he can speak with his father, Ronnie Watts. Detective is like, no, like we need you to let us know where your wife is. We need to know where your daughters are. And Chris is begging and begging and begging. And finally one of the detectives is like, okay, well, if we bring your father in here, you have to promise after you talk to your dad that you're gonna give us all the information that we want. You're gonna let us know everything that we want to know. And Chris agrees. Just kind of like a trigger warning, it does get nothing but sad from here. This is the point in the case where I try to explain to you that it's going to be sad and it's going to be frustrating because your only question that you're ever going to have is why. After 6 long hours of interrogating Christopher Watts, he finally confesses to the murders of Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico. He also lets investigators know where he got rid of their bodies. At that point, they do arrest him for the murders of his family, and the bodies of his family were located on the Survey 319 site. He did get fired from his former employee the day that he got arrested. So at this point, I'm just gonna go over autopsies of all 3 bodies. For Bella and Cece, they were both asphyxiated, so they were smothered. In one report, the coroner talked about how much Bella fought for her life. She had bruising, she had bite marks, and she had a busted lip. It's so sad, and I'm actually not gonna clip it because of how emotional it made me. Chris talks about, okay, before I even go there, let me go back a little bit. And while I was doing research, I actually couldn't figure out if he killed them all at the house, if he killed them all on the site. And it turns out that he actually killed Shanann at the home, loaded the girls up in the back of his truck, and drove to the site, took Shanann out, buried her, which he buried her in not very far from where the girls were found. And then he came back to the truck, and in the clip he talks about how he literally killed his girls in the back of his work truck. And he talks about how, you know, he ends up smothering Cece by holding a blanket over her face in front of Bella. This is the part of the case that literally breaks my heart, because I couldn't imagine what that poor little girl was going through as she was seeing her own father take her sister's life. After he kills poor little Cece, he takes her body from the back of his work truck and takes her to the oil tank and dumps her body there, inside of the oil tank. He then goes back to the truck, about to do what he just did to his 3-year-old daughter, to his 4-year-old daughter, Bella. And she literally looks at her father and asks him, is the same thing that Cece going to happen to me? And what got to me was the fact that this poor little girl knew that her life was about to end. And not only that, she knew that it was about to happen by her own father. The autopsy for Shanann Watts indicates that she was strangled. So they pretty much died all the same way. In the end of this case, Christopher Watts was actually charged with 5 counts of murder, with life sentence and no possibility of parole. His motive is literally still unknown at this point, and that's exactly why I explained to you that the why in this is going to be so confusing, because it really shouldn't have happened. You know, there's a picture, and I'm going to clip it here, where he was having an interview with a local, I guess, TV station, and he looks emotionless. It's mind-blowing. Like, he's literally posing for this picture, about to go out there in an interview with what looks like he has absolutely no feelings. You know, like, this whole thing doesn't bother him at all. Like I said, there's so many reasons you can think of, whether it was he didn't want to be married anymore, he didn't want a 3rd baby, he didn't want the baggage of a family anymore, but there were so many more outs than taking his whole family's life. You know, you're making it seem like your life is so horrible, when your life is so horrible because of the choices you made. You know, that's what still, like, kind of strikes me, because it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And 4 people lost their lives because of feelings that Chris was dealing with, not even feelings that they were feeling, you know. I did find out that they actually filed for bankruptcy, so people keep saying maybe it was money problems, and maybe he just wanted out of the money problems, when still in the end, that's not even a valid reason to kill your family. Bella had to watch her sister die, and then knowing that the same events are going to happen to her, it's really sad. So that kind of concludes the first video. If you have any comments about this case, if I missed something major in this case, write it down below. Let me know. If you have any comments on how I could better myself, if you know something I should do research on, let me know, because I'm more than happy to do it. This case, I didn't enjoy researching this case, but I did enjoy getting Shanann, Bella, and Cece's story out there, because they do deserve to be heard. You know, they didn't deserve that. I wish more could have been done to Chris. I don't think he deserves to live. I personally don't. I can't make that call, so we just kind of have to deal with the punishment that he was given, and be thankful that he even got one. My next video is going to be going up either Thursday or Friday. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe even Wednesday, depends on how I'm feeling tomorrow. I had so much fun recording and editing it, and I am so thankful if you took the time to watch my video and listen throughout the whole thing. It's very much appreciated, and I will see you guys in the next one.